Welcome to Mid-Century Living, your weekly nostalgia podcast about the best of technology and culture from the mid-20th century.
Welcome to episode 37 of Mid-Century Living, the show where we talk all about the best of the mid-20th century and how to add the vintage vibes to your modern life. We are your hosts, Gonzalo.
And Jackie. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're talking about hot dogs, but first, Gonzalo, how was your week?
That's a very good question. My week was spent mostly in preparations for our family trip that's coming up in a couple of weeks, where we are going on a cruise. So there was a lot of money being spent on things like a swimsuit, even though I already had two, and I don't know why I needed a third one, and pair of shorts, which I actually bought two, and some dress shirts because I had to dress up for dinner
Of course.
on a cruise.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. And now my guest bedroom is a pile of stuff because that's my staging area.
Right.
That's where I'll fold all the stuff that needs to go in the suitcase.
Do you fold your clothes when you pack them or roll them?
I do the military fold. So, like, I roll them and they become these little, like, soda can shaped things. And, like, you can toss them up in the air and stuff and, like, they won't come unraveled.
Neato.
And I can fit a lot. I'm very efficient at packing. I can pack a lot. Like when I went this past couple of weeks ago, I was in up north for about a week. I had for a 5-day trip, I had like 8 or 9 days of worth of clothes, and all I took was one small duffel, and I had so many
That's
clothes.
impressive. Unfortunately, my giant skirts aren't super good at condensing down. What I am pretty good at
That's
doing
why I
is
only wear minis.
I'm pretty good at like planning out my outfits so specifically that I never overpack in the sense that I'm bringing stuff that I'm not going to wear.
See, I don't know how to like pre-select the outfits, so I just take every single piece of clothing I own so that I have options when I get there. Is that not what people do? Do y'all not pack everything you have?
Usually I have, yeah, I plan every single outfit. I have an app for that, actually.
Wow, that's very mid-century.
It's actually very 90s. The app I used, in case anyone listening is wondering, is called Dressed, and it's only for iPhones, unfortunately. But it's basically the program that Cher uses in Clueless, where you can swipe through your tops and swipe through your bottoms.
Well, that's cool. Again, I'll just pack everything.
That works too, if you can get it small enough. I wish I had more stuff. That's the thing is, my clothes take up too much space, so I can't pack more than is necessary.
What takes a lot of space is like my evening wear because I like it's a cruise ship. Although if I travel alone, I always treat myself to like a nice dinner somewhere, wherever town I'm making. Because usually, if I travel by myself, I'm the guy that goes to the grocery store the first day to buy peanut butter, jelly, and bread, and that's what I'll eat for my trip, except for dinners. I'll go out to the restaurant, but I always pick one nicer restaurant to go to. But on the cruise, every night is a nice restaurant.
Yep.
So stay tuned, and maybe there'll be some pictures on the Instagrams. Instagram?
Yeah, or at least really good stories when you get back. I want to hear all about it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll have some stuff. But anyway, that was my week. How was your week?
My week was good. My week was great, actually, because it was birthday week. So we're
Yay.
recording this on the 29th.
Which,
of
by the
June.
way, happy National Waffle Iron Day.
Yes, another obscure national holiday that is great. But it was, I mean, speaking of over planning, so my family came to visit for the weekend before my birthday, and I made a huge fuss over lunch. And I used all vintage recipes or instructions. So I made I made mosaic sandwiches, which I learned from a Good Housekeeping cookbook from 1971 on how to like make little sandwich flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made a veggie tray, and I made 2 different vintage dips, and I made a Jello salad with pineapple and shredded carrots, and everyone loved everything, and it went really, really well. And I put pictures on Instagram. I can share some in the stories on the podcast Instagram
You should,
too,
because
if
I feel
anyone's
like everybody
curious.
would like y'all. out there and listening, the sandwiches were, if you can picture mid-century sandwiches, this is what they looked like. They were actually really cool looking,
I
like
was so
different
proud of
colored
them.
breads and everything.
And it went really well. And then they made a bit of a fuss over me at work. They threw me a teeny weeny party where the theme was miniature hot dogs, because I'm really into hot dogs, as we will learn more about in this episode. But they made like little mini corn dogs and cocktail weenies the traditional way, with barbecue sauce and grape jelly, and little garlic bread Italian sausage sliders and little Hawaiian sliders, and this like really pretty dessert board. So I've been eating all week and I've been having a great time, and that's how my week's been doing.
Very nice.
It's been very fun. I've been having a great summer vacation. But that is a good transition into the topic for today's episode. Speaking of silly national holidays, July is actually National Hot Dog Month, and this episode actually comes out on the week of National Hot Dog Day, which is apparently the third Wednesday of every July.
Interesting.
As dictated by the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, who we will get to later in the episode. But I actually have a small obsession with mid-century hot dog recipes, so I was really excited to use this as an excuse to do an episode all about them. So, Gonzalo, what are your favorite hot dog toppings?
So first of all, we call them panchos in Argentina, and you have to stick with the classic. It's hot dog bun, mustard, period. But I don't know if I have a preferred style of hot dog, which we'll talk about later on in the episode. I don't have any toppings that are like, oh my god, I have to eat them on the hot dog. I do have some that I'm like, I shouldn't do, and namely is one, and it's chili. I'm not the biggest fan of chili hot dogs. Like I'll eat it if like presented, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to like order the chili hot dog if I go to like a sporting event. Apart from the fact that I'm a messy eater and I'm gonna end up with chili on my shirt.
Yeah, I know that's not something I can eat without a fork and a knife, honestly.
Yeah.
But well, it does sound like your deal breaker is mustard, which is fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't say it was a deal breaker. I just, you don't fix stuff that's not broken. That's my motto, right? So if the classic hot dog bun mustard works, there's no need to add other stuff to it. But that's just me. What about you?
Which mustard do you prefer?
Yellow? I don't know. Yellow mustard.
Yellow, I don't know. You say that like I have like 4 different mustards in my fridge right now. There are many kinds of mustards. But I'm actually very specific about my preferred hot dog because I am from the Northeast. And so my default hot dog is bun, hot dog, ground mustard, and sauerkraut.
Ew.
Like it has to be the brown Gildan's mustard.
No, you say
and
ground, not brown.
Either one. It has to be like one of those coarse, spicy mustards.
Oh, okay.
Not the yellow French's ones. I don't like yellow French's mustard.
Speaking of mustards, for those of you listening from the great Republic of Texas, HEB, which is the national grocery store chain in Texas, has this like seed mustard. It's like brown mustard, but it looks like what you're describing, and it's like the best thing on sandwiches.
There's even like mustardier mustard. There's like a Creole one that's really good too, and it's got like huge chunks of mustard seed in it. But yeah, the spicier the better. That's the kind of mustard I prefer on pretty much anything sausage related. But anyway, listeners, as you can guess, this episode is going to be 100% food chat. So I hope that you're in the mood for that. But before we just start talking about recipes more, we actually need to go a little bit into the history of the hot dog, which goes back way farther than the mid-century. So, Gonzalo, since you're the resident history teacher, how about you tell us a bit about the history of the hot dog?
Yes. So in true mid-century fashion, I'll start with history. But I appreciate that you said resident history teacher, because in my mind, I was like, because I'm the resident history nerd, I'm going to talk about history.
You are a professional history nerd.
That's right. I am a professional, and there's a educational agency in Texas which can verify that. But anyway, sausages go back as far back as the Roman Empire. So, how many times do y'all listeners out there listen or think about the Roman Empire? Is the real question. Heading back to the Roman Empire, year ish 700 BCE, according to legend, and also depicted in Homer's Odyssey, because that was written in there. The sausage was invented by Roman Emperor Nero's chef thanks to a mistake involving roasting a whole pig. And from there, the sausage concept spread through Europe to present day Germany, where they invented many kinds of sausages, usually served with beer and kraut, which is gross, but we'll go with it.
I love sauerkraut. I don't understand, but I am a quarter German,
Yeah.
so maybe that's why.
Yeah, there's no German in me. But anyway, two German towns in particular claim to be the birthplace of the modern hot dog. So we have Frankfurt, where the term Frankfurter comes from, and Vienna, or hopefully I can say this right in German, Wien, hence the name Wiener and Wienerwurst.
Sounds right.
I think so.
That must be how you pronounce it if Wiener and Wienerwurst are pronounced the way they are.
Well, that's why I went with Wien. So we have German immigrants to thank for bringing the hot dogs to America in the mid 1800s, and it's generally agreed upon that that German immigrants to New York were the first to sell hot dogs in the 1860s. And no one really knows for sure when hot dogs started being served in buns. The most common story is that in 1880, an early hot dog vendor in St. Louis used to loan his customers gloves to keep their hands clean when they ate sausage in the cart. Ate sausage from his cart. The problem was that people would keep the gloves as souvenirs, which ate into his profits. That sucks.
Right?
I know. The story goes that his wife then suggested serving the sausages on a roll instead. Another story is that hot dogs actually used to be sold wrapped in wax paper, but a hot dog vendor in the New York Polo Grounds came up with the idea of using small bread rolls once the wax paper ran out. Then this would be sometime in around 1901. But one of the earliest hot dog carts in Coney Island in 1867 had a bun warmer built into its cart. So
if that's the case, then the other two stories, well, maybe they could all exist at once, but that makes it sound like people were serving hot dogs in bread earlier than that, and just the other two people didn't figure that out until they figured it out independently.
yeah,
Due to their own special struggles.
I can see the Coney Island cart and the St. Louis thing happening concurrently. I don't know how I feel about the gloves part. I just think he was probably giving them the hot dog sausage without anything, and then people's hands got dirty.
Yeah.
I struggle to believe that a hot dog vendor in New York would have random bread lying around to the point that, like, I am out of wax paper. I have all this bread. Like, I find that hard to believe.
Yeah,
Because
that
if
is a little.
he had run out of wax paper and had no bread, and he has to like send someone to go buy the bread to use, he's just gonna go out and send someone to buy the wax paper.
Wax paper, which is probably cheaper than bread.
Yeah.
Because you get by the roll. Yeah, I don't know.
So that's my take on it. But that is the
mystery.
Yeah, the mystery and the history of the hot dog.
So all of that is happening in the late 1800s. So by the time we get to the mid 20th century, hot dogs are very much a household staple. So the recipes have evolved way beyond just eating them in a bun with toppings. Frankfurters are basically treated like any other meat product and are used in casseroles, soups, pasta, you name it. So I'm not sure specifically when hot dogs started being used in casseroles and other dishes. I was trying to figure this out. My oldest hot dog cookbook, yes, I do own multiple hot dog cookbooks, is from 1931. And all of the recipes in my 1931 cookbook are bunless. Like, they're all dishes you can make with hot dogs that was put out by a hot dog brand. And one of them's actually a molded jello salad with hot dogs in it, and we're not going to talk about it. The 30s were desperate times.
So maybe I'm jumping the gun and you'll talk about this later. So if we do, just let me know and we'll edit it out. But I remember eating, and maybe this is just a like Latin America thing, or maybe my family's weird, but we would eat hot dogs and like cut them and then eat them with rice. Just white rice.
The thing is, we do that with other kinds of sausages. It's just, I feel like at some point, that's what the vibe I'm getting is that back then it was just another sausage type.
Yeah.
Whereas now people only put hot dogs on buns, and then if they're gonna do something else with another smoked sausage, they'll just get like kielbasa or
Yeah. Or
something and do basically the exact same thing that you can do with hot dogs. But back then they just treated it like any other household meat product, and so like, why wouldn't you eat it with rice?
yeah.
Why wouldn't you put it in pasta salad? Like, why not? Like, just put it in anything. But that's what I find so fascinating, because I feel like we lost this at some point, or at least in America we have. In that now hot dogs only go on buns and you don't do anything else with them. But back then, you did a lot of cool stuff. So I'm just going to go through a couple of my favorite hot dog trends from the mid-century. So one trend was to cut your hot dogs into different shapes. So, for example, by making like cuts perpendicular, like widthwise through the hot dog all the way down, but not all the way through. So like, you're going to cut them into coins, but you're stopping just short, so it's not actually making coins. If you do that before you cook the hot dog, it curls into a little circle when it cooks. And then, so that's actually really cool. And I did that for Memorial Day this year. I made a 1960s Betty Crocker recipe that was for open-faced circle dog sandwiches, which is just like a toasted hamburger bun and a slice of tomato and a slice of American cheese, and then you put your cooked circle dog on top with a little pickle slice in the middle, and then you eat it like a little open-faced sandwich. It was delicious.
That sounds pretty good, actually. I mean,
It was
minus
awesome.
pickle.
Minus pickle. That was a garnish, really. It was just
5 minutes ago in the conversation.
Another thing you can do to make hot dog shapes is if you do your circle dog cuts like halfway down the dog, and then when you get halfway down, you put your circle dog cuts into the other half, and then you cook it, you'll make an S. There's also some recipes for cutting hot dogs into strips and then frying them in oil, and then you can pick them up and dip them in dips like French fries.
Have you ever cut the bottom, like you get a hot dog and like divide it in half lengthwise? The bottom half you cut into 4 or 6 like whole lines through, and then you make little octopus.
No, but I should.
I'm surprised you haven't.
That sounds adorable. No, I've only done circle dogs, and I've butterflied hot dogs to have them lay flat on sandwiches before, but that's it. Also around this time, hot dogs were commonly used as the meat in casseroles and in baked pasta dishes. I feel like hot dogs and macaroni and cheese actually was one of those default children's dinners in the 90s, so maybe this one has stuck around.
I mean, I've never had it, but also in the 90s we didn't live in the States, and we had hot dog with rice, so...
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people still did that, I guess, for kids mostly. I feel like maybe that is the real difference, is that adults don't treat it like an adult meat anymore.
That's because we have refined palates, which require the expensive sausages.
Another fun trend, there are a lot of examples I found of stuffing hot dogs with stuff before cooking. So the most common one I see is like cutting a slit in the like lengthwise through a hot dog and then stuffing it with a strip of cheese and then wrapping the whole hot dog in bacon before you grill it. I have never done this, but it does sound delicious. But last summer I did try a similar recipe, sort of, where it was called pickle pups from an old Family Circle cookbook, where you put a slice of dill pickle inside the hot dog and then you coat the whole thing in barbecue sauce and then you grill it. It was awesome. But I like pickles and you don't, so never mind. Another sort of stuffed hot dog recipe that I have saved on my phone and haven't tried yet is where you basically almost butterfly the hot dog and then you stuff it with mashed potatoes and then you broil it in the oven until the potatoes are golden.
That sounds good because I love hot dogs with mashed potatoes.
Right? I don't know why I haven't made that one yet, but it's been on my list. I have a huge list of hot dog recipes I haven't tried yet, though.
What if you like have the mashed potatoes mixed like the inside of like a baked potato with like chives and stuff? And cheese and
I think it's seasoned. I have to go reread the recipe. They're not just like plain mashed potatoes, they're seasoned mashed potatoes. But doesn't that sound awesome?
It sounds way better than what I have ready for my meals next, which is just chicken and beets. But I will say, this mashed potatoes stuffed hot dogs, except for the rebroiling part, let's say you are, for example, like me going on a cruise soon. The buffets always have hot dogs for the kids, and there's always mashed potatoes next to the meat carving station. So I could potentially do this on my...
Yeah, you could.
In the buffet.
While you're already on vacation and in vacation mode. Yeah, why not? You could totally do that. So another common hot dog preparation back then is to butter a slice of bread, like just plain old sandwich bread, and then you put a slice of cheese on it, and then you put the hot dog on it diagonally, and then fold up and toothpick together the corners to make it like a little triangle,
Mm-hmm.
and then you brush the whole thing with melted butter and bake it.
Oh.
So this one pops up a lot in a lot of different recipe books, and they're usually called something cute like hot dog toasties. And I also love that you can make this for a crowd because you can put them all on a sheet pan at once. So I think it's a really good recipe, and that's probably why it was so popular. I've made this a couple times, but my favorite one was from a vintage Ortega Chili's ad for a recipe they called the Hotter Dog, where they have you add a whole green chili between the cheese and the dog so that you make your little triangle before you bake it, and it was awesome. Like, I would 1000% serve it to guests. Boyfriend and I like devoured them for lunch that day. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So thumbs up, do recommend. So I have a lot of hot dog recipes that I've been making. The one that started it all, though, and that set me down this rabbit hole, was something called Frankfurter loaf, which is, it sounds scarier than it is. What it actually was just you make prepared cornbread batter, and then you layer it in a loaf pan with hot dogs. And then you bake it just like you're baking cornbread, and then you cut it into slices just like you would slice a bread loaf, and then you serve it with barbecue sauce or gravy, and it was awesome.
I've seen this. I've seen pictures of this. I've never seen it in live. I've seen
I've
pictures
made
of
it
this.
twice. It totally rocks.
I don't know how I feel about cutting into my cornbread.
And there being hot
And there
dogs
being a
in
hot
it.
dog because I live in the
Yes.
South and cornbread here is kind of a big deal.
I feel thrilled and so happy that I've got rewarded with hot dogs when I cut into my cornbread. I just like could not get over what a great idea that was, and that really set me off on this whole thing. But I'm covering mainly the delicious sounding hot dog recipes. Of course, there were some that were not as delicious, but honestly, 90% of them are good. So, highly recommend that anyone, when they see a vintage cookbook in the wild, flip to the hot dog section, because there usually is one, because it's lots of fun.
So there's like several ways of making the hot dogs, as we've discovered. Most of them apparently bunless, but there is some great rivalry between areas in the United States about their hot dogs in buns and how they're supposed to be made. They're all iconic in their own area, and they are very much defended by locals as being superior to other places. When we know that the one that I'm going to say is my favorite is a superior one anyway. But here are some of them, and there's several, and I have a couple only. But New York style, which hails from the Big Apple, traditionally topped with spicy brown mustard and sauerkraut or onions, and made famous by the beginning of this podcast and as Jackie's best type of.
That is my default for sure.
Yeah. There's also the Atlanta style, which is typically savory, topped with cool, creamy, crunchy slaw.
That is a great idea. Actually, I should try that. Sorry, I'm not going to give you my thoughts on every hot dog.
No, that's fine. Go for it. Chicago, which is some of the most well-known and unique, comes with an array of toppings, including fresh tomato, big spears of pickle, hot peppers, sweet onion, and relish. And they also really falls apart whenever you eat it.
I had my first Chicago-style dog last year, and it rocked.
They're delicious, and spoiler alert, it's my favorite type of hot dog. But the Detroit version, which is also known as the Coney dog, and it's beloved in Detroit, and many city spots where they're sold are still known as Little Coney Islands today. But that one has cheddar cheese, raw onions, and beefy chili. Other types include San Francisco, which is wrapped or topped with bacon, lettuce, and tomato. The Milwaukee, which is purest tradition, demands the hot dog is served on a toasted hard roll, not a bun, and topped with butter, spicy mustard, sweet pickles, and sauerkraut. And also the Newark style, where the Italian dog is king, served on an Italian roll, topped with peppers, onions, and fried potatoes. So, my favorite style again is the Chicago style. Whenever I'm in Chicago and I'm not with family and I get my chance to go down to the Loop, which doesn't happen often, but it did happen this past trip. I like to go have a hot dog, and there's a little stand. Those of you, maybe you're listening from Chicago or you're planning a trip there, but there's a little stand on Michigan Avenue at the bottom of Grant Park where you can get Chicago style hot dogs at a little corner stand. If you're ever in Chicago, you need to stop by. That's enough said. And there's a little park there, in the bottom of Grand Park, that like is these little like benches and little, like gravelly walkway, and it's kind of nice. Like I sat there, I had lunch with my hot dog. I mean, I was on summer break, so like I had time. But then you could tell there were people sitting on the benches having their lunch before they head back to the office. So
No.
yeah, it was a home and gardens type situation. But what's your type? I mean, I guess you already
Yeah, the
told
New
us.
York style is my default, but going through this list, there's a lot I actually hadn't heard of. But I would try every single one of these. The coleslaw one I can actually do. I'm making hot dogs for Independence Day because I always do. And I'm making coleslaw on the side. So I think I might just put some coleslaw on one of my hot dogs.
Yeah,
For science.
for science. I would try the Detroit version because I like Detroit. So just because I like Detroit, I would try the Detroit hot dog, but even with the chili.
I mean, chili dogs, I feel like there's a specific kind of person who really enjoys those. All the flavors work really well together. It's one of those things I can't eat in public. Like, chicken wings.
Oh, okay, get out, because I love chicken wings.
I love chicken wings too, but I have to eat them in private. I can't eat them in public.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's the only time you eat them is in public.
No.
Because then everybody's eating and everybody's got sauce up their nose.
No. But here are some hot dog fun facts. So in 2023, Americans spent more than $8 billion on hot dogs
Wow.
and sausages in U.S. supermarkets. During peak hot dog season, which is from Memorial Day to Labor Day, Americans typically consume 7 billion hot dogs. That's 818 hot dogs consumed every second during that period.
Jeez.
On Independence Day, Americans will enjoy 150 million hot dogs, enough to stretch from DC to LA more than 5 times.
Is there a standard size, like length?
Probably.
Okay.
I bet you could find that information from the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, which is where I got most of those fun facts, or all of those fun facts, actually. And they're an actual thing, and this is their official description from their website. Quote, established in 1994 by the American Meat Institute, the council serves as an information resource to consumers and media on questions related to quality, safety, nutrition, and preparation of hot dogs and sausages. The council, they capitalized the word C, by the way, also celebrates hot dogs and sausages as iconic American foods. It is funded by contributions from hot dog and sausage manufacturers and those who supply them with equipment, ingredients, and services.
Interesting.
So, they, as you can kind of tell from their description, take themselves very seriously. It's, like, their website is fun, and there's a lot of really good information on there, like how to host a perfect toppings bar for your hot dogs, and, like, hot dog fun facts, and the first hot dogs, and where to buy hot dogs, and like all this kind of stuff. And like, I'm glad that they exist. I think it's really entertaining that there is a National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, but I have really more of a love-hate relationship with them because I think that they might take hot dogs too seriously, and it kind of sucks the fun out of it. So they have an entire hot dog etiquette page that reads like a joke, but they are absolutely serious and they mean every single word. And so you'll understand why I kind of think that they're trying to make hot dogs fun, but in doing so, they're making them less fun because they're taking all of the improvisation out of hot dogs.
Uh-huh.
So I think it would be cool to go over there as our etiquette tip this week, the official Hot Dog and Sausage Council etiquette page, so we can discuss.
Perfect.
So, don't put hot dog toppings between the hot dog and the bun. Always dress the dog, not the bun. Condiments should be applied in the following order. Wet condiments like mustard and chili are applied first, followed by chunky condiments like relish, onions, and sauerkraut, followed by shredded cheese, followed by spices like celery, salt, or pepper.
Do serve sesame seed, poppy seed, and plain buns with hot dogs. Sun-dried tomato buns or basil buns are considered gauche with franks.
Don't use a cloth napkin to wipe your mouth when eating a hot dog. Paper is always preferable.
Do eat hot dogs on buns with your hands. Utensils should not touch the hot dogs on buns.
Do use paper plates to serve hot dogs. Everyday dishes are acceptable, but china is a no-no.
I'm sorry. It's just, I know that they mean well and they're serious, and I can't take them seriously. Don't take more than 5 bites to finish a hot dog. For a foot-long wiener, 7 bites are acceptable.
Don't you hate these people? I just can't with them. And we're not even done. Okay. Don't leave bits of bun on your plate. Eat it all.
Don't put fresh herbs on the same plate with the hot dogs to overdo the presentation.
Don't use ketchup on your hot dog if you are over the age of 18. Mustard, relish, onions, cheese, and chili are acceptable.
Do lick away all the remaining condiments on your fingers, not wash off.
Try. Sorry. Do use multicolored toothpicks to serve cocktail wieners. Cocktail forks are in poor taste.
But why?
I don't know.
Don't send a thank you note following a hot dog barbecue. It would not be in keeping with the unpretentious nature of hot dogs.
Don't bring wine to a hot dog barbecue. Beer, soda, lemonade, and iced tea are preferable.
And lastly, don't ever think that there's a wrong time to serve hot dogs.
Except for, according to them, the wrong time to serve hot dogs is if you only have china and cocktail forks. Because apparently you're not allowed to do that.
Sorry, I only have fine china and cocktail forks in my house.
Right, so you can't, no hot dogs for you, and you can't put ketchup on them. That's the thing, is they're not leaving any room for improvisation. I think they're trying so hard to keep them light and fun, but like by giving us this list of rules to adhere to, they are sucking the fun right out of hot dogs.
I don't know. I'm having pretty much good fun right now just reading through these.
Just making fun of the hot dog council. That's the thing, is like it reads like a joke, but they're 100% serious.
Yes. So I don't know how you feel about them, but I think we should keep these etiquette rules.
No, I think we should throw all of this etiquette in the trash, and I think everyone should do whatever they want for hot dogs, including putting them in Jell-O if they want to. Like, just go to town. I think that the unbridled creativity that the mid-century brought to hot dog recipes should come back, and I think that it's people like these fuddy-duddies who are forcing us to eat all of our hot dogs and buns with the toppings on top, which, by the way, it also grinds my gears that the first rule on this list is not to put the toppings between the dog and the bun, because as a sauerkraut hot dog person, you can cram in a lot more sauerkraut if you actually put it between the bun and the dog instead of on top of the dog. And it doesn't fall out when you eat it as much. It's like way easier to eat.
Well, we don't want to anger the hot dog council, because you know that next Monday they're going to come to the office and they're going to be like, "Do you know what I heard over the weekend? This amazing podcast, but they were making fun of us.
But they were trashing us the whole half of the episode." I don't know. They bring a lot of good into the universe. I love that they're championing the hot dog as a great American food snack, and then they have all these fun facts, and that they're trying to make sure that people don't belittle the hot dog as just like, oh, that's kids' food, or like something you can only eat at a ball game. Like, It's just like a great dish to serve all the time. I think they're doing a lot of good, but I think that I just don't think they should be applying strict etiquette rules to hot dogs. I think it kind of ruins it. Yeah. So I say no. I vote no on this etiquette. But
I thought they were hilarious, so we may be at a tie. But with that, it looks like we have landed the plane. So thank you guys all for listening today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show and tell a friend.
You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. This is the best place to send us feedback and episode suggestions. Send us a DM anytime. And now you can also find us on YouTube, also at MCL Podcast.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Mid-Century Living. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. See you next Friday.